start? Okay, we're good. We can walk.
Okay, walking and talking. So we're in Belgium right now. We just saw the Grand Place and a little boy pissing. Yesterday we went to Luxembourg and we went to the European Investment Bank.
And we talked to Olivia, who was, what did she do?
She didn't actually say what she did, but she talked about a lot about what the bank did, which was really interesting because that I didn't know before.
So she talked about what kind of investments they make, how they decide, who they invest, which is primarily based on the European policy, which was interesting. So if something isn't in the European policy, they can't finance it at all.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting because we never thought about that in that way. And she said they were the only bank that follows the policies they do because it's just very unique in that respect. So one thing she mentioned is they can't do any new financing for Russia.
Sorry, I was looking at
that. No, I was looking at it.
He was like staring at us. I thought that was really interesting, and I thought it was like interesting that they do more than just Europe, so they finance places all over the world, like in Panama, which I didn't know that before.
And I thought it was actually really cool that they did a lot of green energy and renewable energy.
Yeah,
that was really surprising. That was one of their huge initiatives. So.
Yeah, wasn't that it was like 14?
It was a good majority of
or it was like 17 billion of what they do, right? So it's like a third of what they do, a fourth of what they do.
And I don't know, she mentioned how they only will finance about 50% of the total loan amount, and then they force other banks to come in and do the rest just because they don't want to edge out the market, since their rates, which she mentioned she didn't really know about the rates, but they were between 3 and 3.5%, which is pretty low. So it was just interesting to see that it's to recognize that, ooh, what's this? Opening up.
Anyway.
That they were so focused on developing Europe. So
yeah.
That's cool.
Okay, so here we are at the Grand Place, which is really pretty, ridiculous.
It's really shiny. Everything's kind of golden.
Everything's golden.
Pretty casual.
We kind of just stumbled onto this place yesterday. We just walked around the corner and there it was. So that was pretty exciting. We just, well not just, earlier today we went to the meeting at the European Council, which was really cool. We got to sit in our little seats.
And with all the countries around a table with their microphones.
I was Malta, super important country.
I think I was Greece, but in the background, so I didn't have to say anything. And I wasn't going to.
Okay. Really liked our speaker.
Yeah, we had a nice discussion. He was really cool. I don't really remember much about it, but it's been a long day. But it was just really cool seeing engaging in a debate and discussion that I feel the council actually talks about.
Yeah, and it was it was cool to be in that sort of format where people were calling on questions and Jess was supposed to be taking notes or whatever.
Yeah, and he made it really seriously. He'd call on the commissioner from Malta or whatever.
Yeah,
he'd actually call you out your country, and it just was really cool. It was
cool.
Our first taste of the model EU.
And he was a really engaging speaker too, which some of the ones we've had have not been that engaging.
Right.
And I feel he was assuming he was treating us more like adults than a lot of the people I've seen have.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of people are this is what the commission does, this is what the parliament does, blah blah blah. And he was actually
he actually expected us to know what you were talking
about.
Yeah, which is a little bit awkward because we didn't actually know what he was talking about sometimes.
Yeah.
And he was didn't you see the news yesterday or today? And we were
no, we've been in Brussels. We've been on the bus all day. Yeah, exactly.
But it was almost a good opposite from what we had.
We're busy right now. We're filming it. I'm sorry.
Anyway. But branching into that, Belgium itself has it's been really nice so far. I think it kind of reminds me personally of DC if we had to compare it to an American city.
Yeah.
Just because of the business and the government aspect of it, but also kind of the history, and obviously the histories don't compare when especially looking at this. But it's the mix of the history and the business and a little bit sketch, but
Yeah.
It's definitely really cool, and they obviously take their European seat very proudly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of EU gift stores.
I wish yesterday we would have talked less about Russia, which is, I mean, in the talk,
With the council,
the council. Sorry, I went back. My back is down. Just because I feel like, yes, Russia's like important, it's in the news right now, but I feel like it was just because it was so fresh on everyone's minds. I went to the Russian mission. It was like so fresh in their minds they wanted to talk about it, but like
it was only a couple people
for those of us who didn't go, I feel like it was a little bit like not
Yeah,
not
and
as
it's like-
interesting.
for not to start an international incident
International
on the daily,
conflict.
but it was
What are you gonna do?
it was definitely interesting to see everyone's very political side in that respect, but didn't always know what was going on.
Definitely not at all.
But I don't think I'm ever going to actually know what's completely going on because I'm not a politics major
No.
or an econ major.
No.
So it was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
But
So we might go get some food, eat a waffle, even though we're not supposed to talk about food.
Another waffle,
You can never have too many waffles.
and we might get another Starbucks, which again we're not
That's the
supposed
first
to
one.
talk
I
about.
haven't even had one yet. I had one in all of Europe so far, so it's fine.
And that was
But I
interesting.
feel like Belgium is just so like you have to get a waffle, right?
Yeah,
And
and I
chocolate.
haven't officially gotten French fries yet, even though they came with every meal I've gotten here. But I haven't like gone and ordered like just French
Oh, I
fries.
did today. They were. I don't like them right. They were like they were okay.
Um,
They put like a weird ketchup on them. It's almost like curry ketchup.
it's like frog sauce.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. What else can you say about Brussels?
I don't know. It's definitely one of my cities I've liked better.
Really?
Yeah.
I've not been. I mean, I like it, and it's like a kind of a mix between Berlin and Prague. But it's not been like my favorite city. Like I don't know if I would be dying to come back here. You know what I mean?
I think I would see myself living here a lot easier than I would in Berlin or Prague.
Really?
Just because they're both very extremes.
Yeah.
This is very middle.
This is very middle. Yeah.
Like
It's
parts
kind of
it
like
look
a-
like East London almost.
It's kind of a quirky little place.
Yeah,
Like, people
very
really
much
like
so.
their like little mannequin pieces and
And it's like French and Dutch and a
French
whole
and
bunch
Dutch.
of things.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's kind of a quirky little town. Like the brochures we were reading and everything was talk a lot about like the locals and like their funny customs. So I thought that was interesting.
yeah, so it's definitely it's a cool place. So looking forward to what's in store, more meetings. Should be interesting. So Paris. Of course it's Paris, so.
So we're in front of the Atomium gift shop right now. It's closed, so we couldn't go up, but at least we got to take some pictures of it, which was fun. We just got back from our meeting with
Some people at the European Commission,
yep,
one of whom talked about migration. And he spent a long time talking about different European policies and how tomorrow and Friday the Council and the Commission, and he's doing a bunch of meetings and they're just kind of sort everything out, or at least trying to. And then the next man talked about the Ukraine crisis in more depth, as he's Ukrainian, I think. And that was very interesting. And it was just cool to be in the
yeah.
commission. We got these nice gift bags. It was cool.
I
But
think it was the speakers very much seemed, at least the first guy, seemed very much like he was just towing the party line. Like I didn't hear a lot of opinions, and he talked about a lot about what we already knew. And I guess he obviously like doesn't know what we've been learning in class or anything. But I wish he would have gone like a little bit more in depth instead of just like reading off a bunch of names of people who are like instantly gonna forget.
it's muddy, I'm stuck. Anyway, it was interesting, but yeah, it did kind of seem like very diplomatic practice responses.
Yeah.
And along with the slideshow, it was just like pro Commission, pro Juncker, just a very big advocate about what they're doing. And I know a lot of our questions weren't necessarily answered, but I don't
Yeah.
know if that's because he just didn't understand them
Yeah.
because his English wasn't perfect, or if
Yeah.
it was just he couldn't answer them.
It also seemed like he talked, I mean, the whole talk was supposed to be about the migrant crisis and like migrant issues, but it seemed like he just talked a lot about what the EU's policy on migration is, not what they're doing right now
Right.
to help the situation. which I was a little disappointed with because I know what a lot of the policies on migration are, and I didn't really see anything like happening like actively how they're trying to fix the migrant situation or anything. But I thought he brought up a good point about the Geneva Convention and the human rights issue with asylum, because a lot of these countries like UK don't want to take any more people, but they've obviously signed the Geneva Convention, so it's like, how can they go against that, even though they don't want to cooperate necessarily with the EU? I think they should at least like cooperate with the human rights issue.
One of the interesting things I think he was actually very passionate about was the migrants that were not there because they were refugees. I don't remember the word. Do you remember what it's called? I don't know. It started with a U, but they're like the migrants that were there for maybe economic reasons or not trying to escape their government.
No, I don't remember.
Okay. Well, anyway, he said very passionately at one point, "Oh, do you have to send them back? And we're just going to send them all back." And while it is true, they can't accept more people that severely, especially the people who are desperately in need.
Yeah.
It just seems like a very odd idea, like people that are coming there for a greater economic opportunity are just being turned away.
Yeah.
Which is very not American. You know, because do you think just America is like the land of opportunity? And maybe it's not now. Maybe it never was, but
I mean, it definitely
it's
was
just kind
at
of
some
the
point.
ideal of going somewhere else to make your future better, make your family's lives better.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
very
it's like
prevalent.
there's such a interesting like parallel between migrant crisis here and like Latin American people coming into the U.S. and then the whole thing with like Donald Trump and trying to deport people and like build a wall and whatever. So like there's an interesting parallel between those two things, I think.
Yeah, it was just really interesting how passionate he was about sending them back, and yet they weren't really sure what to do about the people who actually needed help in the immediate. So I think that was definitely surprising.
So we're reflecting on Thursday now, and that day we were in Belgium for the morning, then had our bus ride to Paris. So we started out with I had just one course meeting and Lauren had three. But we had one together. It was our econ course.
Yeah.
And it was the think tank about, Euroscepticism, I think.
Yeah. Which like was interesting because the guy was really Eurosceptic. Like one of the first things he said was like, we should get rid of the euro, and that was not something we've ever heard before, because all the time we hear like the EU is so great, like the euro is so great, blah blah blah, everything's peachy, and then he's like, no, it's not okay, we need to get rid of the euro. So that was really interesting, just to see it like from a different perspective, I guess.
It was kind of shocking at first, just because we were just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and then
Weren't expecting that.
yeah, and then after a while, I sort of drifted out of listening to what he was saying because it was really early in the morning.
It just got a little bit repetitive and long-winded. And
Yeah. And I had 3 other meetings that day, and I was pretty tired. And then we had our fun bus ride, which took twice as long as it was supposed to.
Yeah, we spent about entire bus ride in Brussels because there was
Of the
the
traffic.
commission and other meetings
Yeah.
about the refugee crisis.
But like when you think about it, it's like pretty cool that we were
Yeah.
there, that we're like in Brussels and like got to go to the commission and the parliament. Like I called my mom and like was describing it to her. She like doesn't know what any of the EU is, and I was like, well, it's kind of like the House of Representatives and maybe like the Senate. She's like, oh, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
So like when
And
you
so
think
it was
about it,
totally
it's
an
pretty cool.
important day to be there. I wish we had like maybe done something about the council that day.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably not possible, but
No.
so that was fun trying to get out of Brussels.
Yep.
And we
then
got to Paris, saw
about
the midnight light show at the Eiffel
yeah,
Tower.
that was actually really fun because we
It
drove
was
around
like,
the arc.
Yeah, it was like a bus tour, basically.
Yeah, I think they
which
felt
was
bad.
like
and they were
consolation prize for getting there 4 hours late.
It was fine though. It was fine. And then should we just go right into Friday?
Sure. So Friday
Yeah.
we were in Paris all day. Don't entirely remember what we did on Friday.
We had a meeting with
at IES Paris.
at IES Paris I had a meeting at a different IES Paris with the business
Yeah, but the first
program.
one we were at the language IES Paris,
language
and it
IES
was
Paris.
a talk about the Middle East, was it?
Syrian crisis.
Yeah, it was Syrian.
The
It was
Syrian
actually really
refugee
interesting because
crisis.
it was one of the French professors who was a historian. She really
Yeah.
went into a lot of detail, and it was really interesting. And it was
Yeah.
more of a history lesson than anything else. And
Which
that
like
kind
was
of-
really useful.
Yeah, I
because
think it was definitely really useful.
I think a lot of us pretend like we know a lot more about the refugee crisis than we do.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to like actually have some background knowledge and know what we're talking about from now on.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked her.
Yeah, that was.
She's
that
a
was
lot
really
more
interesting.
intriguing than a lot of the other talks I had, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a meeting later with a reporter for Politico, which is one of the right-wing French newspapers, and he was really interesting. He also talked a little bit about the refugee crisis, but mainly about what's her name, Marie Le Pen, who's like one of the up-and-coming like main political leaders in France, which was really interesting. I don't know
That
if you
was
did
cool.
anything
No.
else that day.
We had a talk with an Italian economist who was a really cool guy. You know, he talked about spaghetti a lot. And that was really cool. He was just a really nice guy, and he made things really interesting. And he definitely had a point of view about the European economics that was
Yeah.
not expressed very often, which was a lot of fun to listen to. But it was definitely a long day, cold and rainy. Then spent the rest
Yep.
of the day
Sightseeing.
We got
Which was-
fondue.
Yeah. We got fondue, which is so good. So French. But it was after we got Chipotle, so
It was our second dinner.
second dinner. I liked France.
No
a lot.
regrets.
I like Paris a lot. And you went to
Yeah.
Disneyland.
I went to Disneyland
so
on Saturday because we had a free day. It was a lot of fun.
I did all the touristy things again. So last time I was in France, I was 11. So I forgot everything that I did then. So I had to do it again. But Disneyland
If
would
only
have
were I
been
wearing
fun.
my Mickey ears during this reflection.
Oh, you should have worn the Mickey ears. That would have been nice.
It was a lot of fun.
Should we run home and get them?
Yeah, we totally should.
Okay. Anything else about Paris, Brussels?
Definitely
trip
felt
in
like
general?
Brussels was a lot longer than Paris.
It was a lot longer.
It is like, but it also feels like Brussels was like a month ago.
Yeah.
Like, that just feels like a lifetime ago.
I'm finding souvenirs from Brussels, and I'm like, I don't remember buying that at all. But it's-
Luxembourg was such a long time ago too.
Luxembourg
like, we
was
kind of forget
crazy.
about that aspect of the trip because
Yeah.
we didn't stay there.
I don't even remember.
It
what
would have been
happened.
nice almost if we had a night in Luxembourg. That would have been cute.
But there's like not a lot to do there. You know what I mean?
No,
I think we
but it
pretty
would've
much
been
did
fun.
everything in the 2
Oh,
free
yeah,
hours we
but
had.
I mean,
But it's nice to be home though. It's nice to be back in Freiburg, and it's nice to think of Freiburg as home. So, can't wait for our next trip though.
yeah, North trip. We're
Okay.
gonna rock it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?